One of the things you might be wrestling with right now is fear of failure. So, are you afraid to fail as a leader? If you are, you might not realize that failure can actually help you to become a better leader. I'm Jason, I'm the leadership guy, and I'm here to help you become a better leader. Nobody wants to fail. We don't want that feeling. We don't want to feel bad. We don't want to feel as if we didn't meet the grade. Failing messes with your confidence. It feels terrible. Failing changes the way that you look at yourself. And so we don't want to deal with failure. But failure has a place. But when we think about why some of us are almost so afraid of failure, we realize that our education system plays a role in that. As children, we are basically taught that failure is bad. We are taught to avoid failure. When we were in school, and you didn't do well, people would look down on you, say all sorts of things about you. It felt terrible. More than that, when you fail a paper, an exam, a test, and you look at your paper, you see this big red F in the corner. That felt terrible. It didn't look good. So that's not something that we want in our lives. What we really want is success. We want the esteem of success. We want our peers and colleagues to speak well of us, and we want to feel good as a result. We want the things that come as a result of success. And that's fine. But success has a roommate, and that roommate is called a failure. If we want success, we have to deal with failure also. When we think about failure, we realize that it can feel as if it's final. We fail at something, it's all over. The truth is that failure is not final. And the great motivational speaker, author, and salesman, the late Zig Ziglar, once said, failure is an event, not a person. So that project that you're working on might fail. That event you're about to host might fail. That thing that you're doing across there could very well fail. But you are not a failure. It's an event. It's not you. It may happen it may happen several times, but it is not you. Once you can separate your failure from who you are, you'll be just fine. We learn from failures along the way. As a matter of fact, we have failure to thank for some of the products we have around us. You've probably used Post-its, these little sticky notes that we can put all over the place. Yeah, that came from failure. How? A scientist was working on a super glue, and the end product was anything but a super glue. It was a glue that could barely stick and hold. He failed completely, but out of that failure came Post-its. Play-Doh. You've seen it, you've heard about it, you've probably played with it yourself, right? This is bright colored modeling clay that children have. Yeah, that came from failure. An engineer was working on a putty that he would use to clean coal off of wallpaper, and he failed completely. His sister-in-law saw the product and thought this might work. And so she took it to her class for the children to play with. Runaway success. And today we have the brightly colored modeling clay called Play-Doh. You probably know this thing this extremely useful thing in a tin called WD-40. Strange name. But what does it mean? WD is water displacement. Water displacement because it was intended to deal with rust. It's like it's like a rust-proofing coating. So it's WD for water displacement to deal with rust. But what's the 40 about? It's not called WD1 or 2 or even 3, but 40. And that's because it was formula number 40 or 40. That's the one that became successful. That suggests to us that 39 formulas before all failed. And today we have WD-40. These came as a result of failure. People learned, people iterated, and they became successful. In business, it's important to not fear failure, but to recognize that it's important to fail. Because in failing, we learn, we iterate, we come back with something better, we try again, and we go. So while in our education system, we are socialized to literally fear failure, in the real world, in the business world, we need to embrace failure, because failure is what drives innovation. That's how we get better. Not only there, but in a number of other areas. When we think about leadership and we think about some of the best leaders that we've known about, we think about some of the most successful leaders. One of the names that comes pretty easily to mind and comes pretty close to the top of the list is Abraham Lincoln. Former U.S. president, he was president of the U.S. during the second half of the 1800s. He led the country during a dark and difficult time. Civil War ripped the country apart, and he led the country during that time. He was known for his courageous leadership in those days. He was known for being the one who basically made it possible for slavery to be abolished in the U.S. And his accomplishments go on and on. But what most of us probably don't know is that Lincoln's journey to the White House was anything but smooth and filled with anything but success. We could probably correctly say that Lincoln failed his way to the White House. Why is that so? Lincoln's political career started when he offered himself for election to his state legislature. And he failed. Yeah, he failed. He tried again, and he was eventually successful and was elected to the legislature. When he was elected, he then tried to become the Speaker of the House. And guess what? He failed. Lincoln took a bank loan and went into business, and within a year he was bankrupt. He failed. He tried to become a U.S. congressman. He failed. When he was eventually elected, he went up for election and he failed. He offered himself to become the nominee for the U.S. vice president, and at that he failed. He tried to become a U.S. senator and he failed. And then he was elected U.S. president. Before Lincoln could enter the White House, he had to overcome and deal with a series of failures in his life. But all of those failures helped to shape him, to mold him in becoming the man that he was, so he could be the president that he eventually became. And like Lincoln, your failures are going to help you grow emotionally. Like Lincoln, your failures are going to help you put in the reps so you get accustomed to doing things. And like Lincoln, your failures are going to help you get the experience under your belt so that when you are successful, you'll be able to handle it. Failure has a place. The project you're working on, this event you're doing, all of those things may fail. Learn from it. Be better as a result. So look around. What are you working on? What are you a part of? It looks like a failure to you, doesn't it? But learn. Learn from it. Apply the lessons. Become better as a result of failure. Fail on. Go forward. Be stronger. Get better. Let failure teach you the lessons and help you become successful. Check out this video for more help on becoming a better leader. See you next time.